Welcome to Yeshiva Daf Shir sponsor Nishma Sar B'Yaakov Shalom Le'Av Sitzchok. We're holding in Shavuos Daf Lamedalet. We went yesterday on Yom Tov. We reached the two dots in the middle of Lamedalet. Now, just to remember or to go back into the sugya, we have a brisa. The brisa that I'm dealing with base brought four different mandamari, four different opinions. How do we know that Shavuos must be, Shavuos Eidus must be Mammon? It has to be a denial or refusal to testify about money and money only. If they want to testify about something else, you don't have a din of Shavuos Eidus. So the Gemara brought four different opinions. Why is that so? The first opinion was it says Oyim. It says Oy by Shavuos Eidus. It says Oy by Pikodin. Pikodin is money, so also by Eidus is money. So the Brisa goes and says, one second, what about Oyim that says by Ritzeach? What about Oyim that says by Saito? Why are you picking and choosing that? And the Gemara tells us why, the Brisa tells us why. The Gemara right before the two dots brought at the explanation of why we're learning from, why not you don't learn for Shavuos Bitu, which says the Oy. And the Gemara told me that this Mandamar holds that Pikodin is more similar to Eidus than Bitui to Eidus, because there's more similarities. There's five different common denominators between the psukim of Pikodin and Eidus, and only three common denominators between the psukim of Bitui and Eidus. So that's what the Gemara got to, the two dots, and now the Gemara is going on to the next Mandamar in this brisa. Says the Gemara, Mamish smack in the middle of the Madal. It says in the pasuk, he's going to be nesha for one of these. Yesh me'elishu chayav, yesh me'elishu potter. Mashra, there's some that he's chayav, some that is potter. Haketzat, tavoy momon chayav, tavoy dora'acher potter. Depends if he's tivei momo and he's chayav, dora'acher potter. Says the Gemara Eipochan. How do you know? Maybe say the opposite. Maybe say that if you tivei something else, you're chayav, and tivei momon you potter. Rabbi Kiva agrees to the oyin that we mentioned right before the sheet of Rabbi Elazar. It says oy oy. My benasu. What's the chiluk? Rabbi Kiva and Rabbi Elazar both learning from the oyin. So what is Rabbi Kiva adding and saying? Rabbi Kiva is going to exclude something else. So I'll tell you the difference. What about Shavuos and Karka? So they're arguing regarding the karka. Why? Rashi explains, because the Gabi Gzelo, it says that a person has to be Meishi also the karka. The one understands that because the Shavuos is exactly like Gzelo. So if Rabbi Kiva is coming to say more, he says Oyin, and in addition he says the words Lachas Me'ela is coming to exclude the karka that Abelazar mentioned. But according to Abelazar, it says that the only thing Abelazar refers to is Gezel, but not the Gabi Shavuos. So what will be the additional thing that Rabbi Kiva is going to exclude? Talk about Eidi Kras, meaning when you're coming to testify about a Kras, because he learns from Ribur Miut, you're coming to say Kras as well. So you say Kras as well, and that's what you're learning from here. Gemara now brings the third sheet in the brisa. So the Brisa said, what is something? It says he either saw or knew. It could be either or. It can either see or know. So the Gemara says, which thing in the world you can testify either by seeing or by seeing? You want to see? No, not here. Okay. Yeah. So either seeing or knowing. So they more by Mammon. By Mammon, you could either see what? See a transaction, don't know exactly what he means. And we spoke about it on Shavuos, on Yom Tov. What does that help me that he saw something without knowing what it is? He saw someone giving money to somebody else. How do you know if he gave it as a loan, or he gave it because it's a gift, or whatever it is? So Rashi explained that the person says, if you bring me Eidiv that I gave you the money, I will admit. Otherwise, you say, because he said nothing happened. That's Riyah B'Lo Yediyah. Yediyah B'Lo Riyah, said the Gemara, what it is? Person comes and says, I testified that he admitted that he's chayav. So he didn't say anything. I just know about it without saying it. So by moment you can have either or. Nothing. By other things you have to have both. Riyah and yediyah. Well, basically, Mashma that Yechezkel does not agree with Rachel. Then not necessarily you have to have both. Where in nefashos. What's the case of Rachel? This, if you remember, we saw this in Bo Basra, Sanhedrin. So Gomer Loicher ben Agmalim is 2/3 down. The beginning of the line is Gomer Loicher ben Agmalim. Okay. You have the second Shav Rashi is what is brought down in Bo Basra Sanhedrin is you have a camel who is doing be'ila with other camels, so it goes a little crazy. And you have a gomel right next to him dead. You know he killed it. The camel killed it. How do you know? I didn't see. Listen, the camel is going wild, having relations, and right next to the dead camel is probably him. That's called yidio below riyo. I know. I didn't see, but I know. This can apply to not only by camels, it can apply to human beings as well. And what case would be the case that it will apply to human beings? More brings an example. Look at Shir ben Shetach that we saw also with Sanhedrin. Tanya of Shir ben Shetach. I've seen a chum. It's like a shloshat shul. I saw somebody running after his friend to a broken home. Ran after him. I see a sword in his hand. And there's blood dripping from the sword. And there's a dead person jerking on the street, on the floor. Who killed this person? You or me? In other words, it's not me, so of course it's you. I can't still punish you. You need to have 2, 3 edim. There's no 2 edim over here. Shmuel will punish you. A snake killed him. So that case, mashma over there, there will be 2 edim. That will be fine. And even if not necessarily have to go into the shito or shir mashetach. Going to Rav Acho regarding the camel, that will be good. You see a person running into a house, and you find with a knife. You come into the house and you see the guy's dead. You assume that the guy did it. That's called yidio b'lo. He didn't see it.
Circumstantial evidence.
Circumstantial evidence, exactly. It's knowing without seeing. So you said only by moment I have to know without seeing. That's not true. According to Rav Acho, when it functions, you have knowing without seeing. Says the Gemara, even if you hold that way, you're right. You can know without seeing. Circumstantial evidence. We need to have both things. We need to have that somebody can know without seeing or see without knowing. That's the case by momentous. By definition, you can know without seeing, but you can't see without knowing. If a person sees something, doesn't mean he can't come and testify. Why not? Sees someone dying, doesn't know if it's a guy or a Jew. Maybe it's a sick person. So you see, so the Gemara says this rule still applies. That only by momentous you have the idea of seeing without knowing or knowing without seeing.
Which is imagining human beings the notion of a gomal and not like a shor.
I don't know. Good question. That was the case that the Gemara brought a few times as an example of someone going wild. Not just, I know that he's muad, we actually know he goes wild and kills people, kills animals. So, you see from here, the knas can be it. Because what's knas? Knas, part of the list of knas, is oines, umefate, right, raping or seducing. So by knas, you could have yediyah without seeing. You could see that a person knows circumstantially what happened. But to see and not to know doesn't work. Because we look by a maid that nochis bal bas Yisrael bal, if he's a goy or Jew, the sula bal bula bal. So the fact that according to Yechezkel, he says that the category of chiyuv of korban shul is moment, because that's where you have seeing without knowing, or knowing without seeing. It means it's not including in there knas. Right? So, okay, now the Gemara goes on. So, Avnuna is sitting in front of Rabbi Yehuda. Rabbi Yehuda is asking the question. So, first it says, I counted money in front of 280. Something went down the base. In addition, there were 80 outside. They also saw. They saw the counting. Is that good enough? The 80 outside, or not? What does the guy answer? If he says, no, I never counted money in front of you. That's what we mentioned on Yom Tiv. Who's a kafir? So he's a liar. He says, I never counted money. You have a guy who says, counted money. That's good enough. You see the guy is a liar. You don't believe anything he says. But if he said, yeah, I counted money. I didn't borrow money from you. You returned money that you owe me. So what did Eidim do? Eidim don't make a difference. In fact, they saw counting. Amnuno as oil to. Says, you, Amnuno, you're very smart. In other words, if Yehuda was asking, counting money, is that an indication or not? Says, it depends on the circumstance. If he denies it, it's a good raya. Doesn't deny it, it's not a raya at all. Says you're saying good, you are right to go into Beis Medrash, you're a chashav atam. That's what Yehuda told Amnuno. Says the Gemara, guy says, you counted money in front of this pillar. What do you mean? I never passed through this pillar. Also, he said, not only you passed through here, you urinated right over here. What do you mean you passed over here? That guy's a liar. Why is he a liar? Because he's saying he never passed here. Not only passed here, you actually urinated over there. So that's a Persian judgment. I didn't say I never passed here. I mean, I never passed here for this deal. You told me that you counted money in Tuesday at 3. I wasn't here before. I mean, I never passed here in my life. I meant for this deal, I didn't pass here. The Gemara says Ikadamit, but as I point out here on the side, it's not really Ikadamit, it's just another story. Another case. Someone said they counted money in front of this pillar. Here he says, I never went here. Not only for this. Came Adim. They said he urinated there. Again, similar concept. Well, I'm not going to say he's a liar. Something which is not on a person's mind, he's on this dust he doesn't realize. It could be urinated here. He didn't think too much. He was going to the street, he was thinking about something, he had to make, he went to the side, he didn't even realize. You can't come a claim to say, if he said, I never passed by here, and he urinated, that doesn't mean he actually is lying. It could be, he just doesn't have to think, he didn't remember it. Now the Gemara goes on to the next sheet in the Brisa, sheet number 4. In the Brisa, Rav Shimon says that he brought a Gzera Shava, but he said a Kal V'chomer too. And the Kal V'chomer was, if by Shavuos Apikodim, that everybody, women and men and ksherim and psulim and kroivim and rechokim, they're all mammal. You say it's only moment and not anything else. So Hedus, which is only ksherim and men and not relatives, of course only moment. That was the Kavochem. And he had Gzera Shava. So the Gemara, Mechachu Allah b'Ma'arava. The Ma'arava, they made fun. They laughed on Rav Shimon. My chucha. Well, what do we get fun of him? The Ktani Male Pikodin Shekel Loyosabo Mushba Kenishba. Oh, so the Gemara, when the Gemara brought the Kavochem, the Gemara was doich the Kavochem, and the Bryce was doich the Kavochem. It says, don't bring your rye for Pikodin, because the Pikodin Loyosabo Mushba Kenishba. Not the same thing. Someone does a shvuah on his own, or someone else gave him a shvuah. Mezik is shoykik, or by shvuah, by shvuah Pikodin, it's only shoykik, not mezik. How do you know that by Eidus you do have Mushba on your own? The Torah just says a Shama called Allah, which is Mushba by somebody else. So how do you know that? They go on Pikodin. So Elamai, you learn Zeh Shama Pikodin. Pikodin Nami Mushba Piachem, you go on Eidus. Once you learn Zeh Shama, you learn one from each other. Pikadon from Eidus, Eidus and Pikadon. You're saying, oh, you should know that Eidus is much more common than Pikadon because by Eidus you have Mushba and Nishba. How do you know you have both? Because you learn Pikadon. So Pikadon learns from Eidus. Says the Gemara, why is it so funny? Maybe, as we mentioned earlier, if you remember, that not necessarily you have to learn Eidus for Pikadon, you could learn Eidus as a Shvuah on his own, if he's Nishba by somebody else, he's Chayov. Kol Shkrev is Nishba on his own. So what's so funny? Now talk about the second question that we said. So Pikadon is only Shogi, not Mezid. How do you know that when a person does a Shvuah b'Mezid by Eidus, he sells me a Korban Shvuah? Because it doesn't say there that he forgot. It also doesn't say Ne'elam by Pikadon. So why are you deciding that Pikadon is only Shogi, not Mezid? That's the thing they made fun. Bnei Mario made fun of Rabbi Shimon. What's so funny? Rabbi Shimon Gomerlo says maybe the fact you have Shogi and not Mezid, that you learn from Me'ila. Because Me'ila is written right there. And by Me'ila has to be done for Shogi. You have a person wouldn't violate a Kodesh, it's only when you did it with Shogi, not with Mezid. So he learned it from Me'ila. Rashi says, it says Ma'ala Ma'al, and Ma'al Kib Tivul Ma'al. So you learn Ma'al Ma'al. That's the words. Says I'll tell you what the joke is. Why are you learning from Me'ila? Learn from Eidus. What? Yeah, economic. Why are you learning from Me'ila only Shogi, not Mezid? Learn from Eidus. Should be both. It makes sense to learn from Me'ila. Shken Me'ila or Me'ila. Both says the word Me'ila. So we mentioned previous that, and again, this Amud Aleph, that you learn Techta, the same word Techta. So when we start with Me'ila, if you know what Shlom Me'ila, Sheken, now the words can bring a list of things where Pikadon is like Me'ila. Because Me'ila, it says the word Me'ila. And Me'ila. And Bechoil means it can be everybody, even relatives, even people that are pasul. Nena by Pikadon, and by Me'ila he's enjoying himself. He's benefiting from the hiding. Mashiach and Eidus is not benefiting by not testifying. Bekavua, right? Now they all both have a korban kavua. Mashiach Eidus is oil of yored. Choymish, you have to add a fifth to when you have to add 25% more when you want to redeem, when you want to give back for kodesh or pikadon. The asham and the korban is a korban asham. Mashiach by Eidus. That's why pikadon and the Me'ila are similar. Hadar Me'ila, you know why they're similar. Sheken, Chet, both it says the word Techto. Hedyoit, it's a din with the Hedyoit, Me'ila is with Kodesh. B'Shavua, and it's by a person did a Shvuah over here, but Me'ila is no Shvuah, he just enjoyed Kodesh. Tavi v'Kafrei, and they both come with a Tvi and Kfira. Meaning someone came and demanded and he denied it. Mashiach and Me'ila. The oy, and it says in both of them, oy. There's more similarity, there's more things that Pikadon is doime Me'ila, that Pikadon is doime to Eidus, as Toys pointed out before, because by Me'ila is Me'ila, Bakoil, Neno, the Kavua, Choymish, V'Osham, that's 6 things, and by Eidus is Chet, Hedyon, B'Shvuah, Kafre ve'oin, which is 5 things. So there's more things that are similar that you see with Pikadon to Me'ila. That's you learn Me'ila. Elamai Chochos. What's so funny? So you know, Shimon had a problem. Bnei Mario says, "What are you making? What's the issue?" I just explained to you why Shimon holds his issue. So look, you also have Papa Avuna Bredi Yeshua Beirav Amri Hainu Chochos. I'll tell you what the joke is. Maybe they have Shimon Gzeh Gomer. Lamei the Porich Mali Pikadon can learn some Mushba Kenishba Meiz Keshoyki. He has a Gzeh Shava. What is he asking questions of Kavach Chemer? He brought Kavach Chemer, had a problem with Kavach Chemer. You have a Gzeh Shava anyway. So what do you care about the question on the Kavach Chemer? So my Chuch again, what's so funny? Tilbo ki Porich we made take a look Gzeh Shava. What did the Kavach Gzeh Shava? Like Porich, yeah, and Ichanami. His question is only as long as you don't have Gzeh Shava. He tried to tell Kavachomer. Said Kavachomer, I have questions. Then he Gzer Shava. Then he learns Gzer Shava from his Rebbe. Says the Gemara, "Veloy v'Amalu Rova ba'isi le'abon man tan l'shvus b'kodon lo nitan zdoino lekapar." Who's the man that says the shvus b'kodon doesn't have zodoin? You have shimini, right? So meaning going with the same concept that you just said, that you have a pirchot to Kavachomer. What's the pirchot to Kavachomer? They said there's no mezi, that there's no mezi of pikodim. But the Arab Shimon said only before he has Gzer Shava. You said that he doesn't have the pirchot after he has Gzer Shava. Says the Gemara, Dilma mezi kishoygik parich the gomer lo meilo dach nefish. Aval mushba kenishba leparich. Well, you're right. There's two questions that we had. One is mezi kishoygik, and the other one is mushba kenishba. Mushba kenishba continues to be Gzer Shava that you learn pikodon from Edus. But shoygig you learn from meilo, as we just said, because meilo is more similar. So that remains, that pircha remains. So the Gemara v'ta'adar Edus v'tikum lepikodon. So now we should learn Edus. Once you learn Pikodim and Meila, that's only Shogeg and not Mezid. So also now Edus, you have Gzer Shava, should learn from Meila that also should be Shogeg and not Mezid. Mezid lo Shogeg. Ma Pikodim Shogeg in Mezid loy. But Pikodim is only Shogeg because you learn from Meila. Af Edus Shogeg in Mezid loy. Why are you saying that Edus is different than Pikodim? Kechi di olam Pikodim and Meila. The same Pikodim learns from Meila. Says, I'll tell you why we're down on top. Shvus Edus is written right next to Bitui and Tumas Mikdash Kacho. To be Kulam Neman Be'evenelam. It says the word Venelam. The Kan Loy Neman Be'evenelam. The Chav Lemez K'Shoygik. The other one says Nelam. The other ones you forgot. It was a Shoygik. Here specifically, within the context of all the other ones, it says Venelam. You have Edus doesn't say Venelam to teach you the even Amazing Chav. So the Gemara says. We had Gzer Shava learning from Meila. We have Gzer Shava, Shavuos Pikodim, Shavuos Edus, and Meila they learn from each other. But there's some things that Pikodim does learn from Edus, and that is Shogeg and Amazing. That we learn from Meila. So one second, why Edus doesn't learn from Pikodim? Edus have its own limit to teach Amazing is Chayiv. Oh, so yeah, that's why Edus and Pikodim, this thing they're different, and that's what the Gemara said. That was the pircha that remained. You can't, don't tell me Edus Pikodim learn from each other Kavachomer because you have a pircha. What's the pircha? This is Shogeg Chayiv, this is your Chayiv also in Mezid. That's a Kavachomer. But the Gzer Shava remains, and that's the Gemara concludes to explain the fourth explanation of the Braiso. Okay, so we got to 10 the daf, and